The Tesla headquarters in California was buzzing with excitement and tension. That day was supposed to mark a historic milestone. A brand new Tesla prototype, sleeker, smarter, and more powerful than anything before, was set to be unveiled in front of investors, journalists, and industry experts. The car stood gleaming under bright lights, a symbol of years of innovation and billions of dollars in research. But behind the perfect exterior, there was a problem. The engine, the very heart of this futuristic car, had stopped working. Engineers had been working non-stop for hours, checking every detail. Wires were pulled, batteries checked, circuits reconnected. Yet no matter what they tried, the machine refused to come to life. Each failed attempt only added to the frustration. The CEO of Tesla, a man known for his bold vision and impossible standards, paced back and forth, his face tightening with every passing minute. Investors were already arriving. Cameras would be rolling soon. Failure was not an option. In the corner of the workshop stood a janitor, quietly sweeping the floor. He wasn't supposed to be part of this scene, but his shift had overlapped with the chaos. Beside him stood his daughter Emily, a small 11-year-old girl, with bright brown eyes and a notebook clutched in her hands. She had begged her father to bring her along for just one day. To most people, she was just a child. To her father, she was a curious mind, always asking questions about machines, cars, and how things worked. As the engineers argued loudly, Emily's attention was fixed on the silent Tesla prototype. Her little mind wasn't overwhelmed by pressure or corporate stress. Instead, she watched carefully, noticing details others ignored. Her father bent down and whispered, "Emily, stay close. Don't disturb anyone." She nodded, but her eyes never left the car. Suddenly, she tugged on her father's sleeve. "Dad," she whispered, "I think I know what's wrong." Her father chuckled nervously. "Sweetheart, this is $1 million machine. The best engineers in the world are working on it." But Emily didn't back down. She clutched her notebook tighter. "I can fix that," she whispered softly, almost as if speaking to herself, yet loud enough for the CEO to overhear. The room fell silent. Engineers turned their heads. Some raised their eyebrows. Others smirked. One of them laughed openly. "Really? The car won't start, and now we're taking advice from a child?" Another added mockingly, "Maybe she'll sprinkle fairy dust and it'll work." Emily lowered her eyes but didn't step back. The CEO stopped pacing and stared at her. For a moment, he didn't know whether to be angry or amused. Here he was, facing one of the most critical moments of his career, and a little girl had just claimed she could solve what his entire team couldn't. But there was something about her tone. Not arrogant, not childish, just calm and confident. "What did you say?" the CEO finally asked, his voice cutting through the tension. Emily raised her head and repeated louder this time, "I can fix that." The engineers exchanged glances, some rolling their eyes. Her father's face turned red with embarrassment. "Sir, I'm so sorry. She's just a kid. She doesn't—" But the CEO lifted his hand to stop him. "No, let's hear her." The room grew tense. Some muttered in disbelief. One engineer whispered under his breath, "This is ridiculous." But the CEO crouched down to Emily's level, his sharp eyes studying her. "Why do you think you can fix it?" he asked. Emily swallowed nervously, but spoke with clarity. "Because I listen. Machines talk. They tell you what's wrong if you pay attention. Everyone here is rushing, but they're not listening." The silence that followed was heavier than before. Her words sounded too mature for a child, and yet they carried a strange truth. The CEO straightened up and, after a pause, said, "All right, Emily, you have 5 minutes. Show me what you can do." The engineers erupted in protest. "Sir, this is insane," one shouted. "We don't have time for games." Another added, "If this leaks out, investors will think we've lost our minds." But the CEO silenced them with a glare. "You've all had hours. She gets 5 minutes." Emily's father stepped forward, panic in his eyes. "Please, sir, she's just a little girl. If she messes something up—" "She won't," the CEO interrupted, his eyes never leaving Emily's. "Go on, kid." For the first time, Emily smiled. She walked toward the prototype, her small footsteps echoing in the vast workshop. Every pair of eyes followed her. She climbed onto a small stool placed nearby, her tiny hands reaching for the engine panel. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her heart was steady. The moment stretched like an eternity. Engineers folded their arms, waiting to laugh. Her father stood frozen, torn between pride and fear. The CEO watched with an intensity that made even the investors at the back lean forward. Emily bent down, peered inside the intricate network of wires, and whispered to herself again, "I can fix that." And with that, she reached for the first wire. Emily's small hands moved carefully over the engine panel. To the team of experts watching her, it looked absurd, a child reaching into a machine worth millions. But to Emily, it was like a puzzle she had already solved in her mind. She didn't see wires and circuits as confusing chaos. She saw patterns, connections, and stories waiting to be understood. She leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. "It's not the battery," she whispered softly to herself. "It's not the drive unit either." Her fingers brushed over the cooling connector, and she stopped. Her instincts told her this was the problem. Something so small, so ordinary, that the professionals, in their rush to impress, had overlooked it. She turned back and asked, "Can someone hand me a 10mm wrench?" The room went still. One of the engineers scoffed, "She even knows tool names?" "This is ridiculous." But the CEO, his arms crossed, nodded to a technician. "Give her what she asked for." The wrench was placed in her hand, and for a moment the workshop felt like a stage. With the confidence of someone far beyond her years, Emily adjusted the loose connector, twisted it back into place, and checked the surrounding wires. She bit her lip, thinking of all the times she had watched her father fix their old washing machine or broken lawnmower. He always told her, the smallest things can break the biggest machines. Look for what everyone else ignores. Her father, standing frozen nearby, whispered under his breath, "That's exactly what I told her." His eyes glistened with tears, torn between disbelief and overwhelming pride. Emily finished her adjustment, then stepped back, wiping her small hands on her dress. She looked at the CEO and said with surprising authority, "It should work now. You just have to restart it." Nobody moved at first. The engineers exchanged doubtful looks. One of them muttered, "This is insane. It can't be that simple." But the CEO, his eyes locked on the little girl, walked forward. Without hesitation, he pressed the start button. For a brief, terrifying second, nothing happened. The silence was so heavy, it felt like the whole room stopped breathing. Then with a sudden hum, the dashboard lights flickered to life. A deep, smooth sound echoed as the Tesla engine roared awake. Perfectly calibrated, flawlessly running. Gasps filled the room. One engineer dropped his clipboard in shock. Investors clapped instinctively, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The janitor, Emily's father, put his hands over his mouth, his body shaking with emotion. His daughter, the little girl no one took, seriously had done in 5 minutes what the company's top engineers couldn't do in hours. The CEO slowly turned to Emily, his usually stern face softened by awe. He knelt down so he was eye level with her. "Emily," he said gently, "how did you know what was wrong?" Emily tilted her head and answered in the simplest way possible. "Because machines talk. You just have to listen." Everyone else was too busy to hear it. Her words struck the room like lightning. Even the most arrogant engineers lowered their heads. For a moment, the entire workshop was silent, except for the steady hum of the Tesla engine that Emily had revived. Then applause erupted. Investors clapped louder, cheering for the girl. One shouted, "That was incredible." Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered furiously, already knowing this story would make headlines around the world. Emily's father rushed to her side, kneeling down and hugging her tightly. His voice cracked with emotion. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You've changed everything." The CEO stood and addressed the entire room. His voice was strong, but his eyes were still fixed on Emily. "Today we learned something important. Innovation doesn't always come from titles, degrees, or years of experience. Sometimes brilliance comes from the most unexpected places." He placed his hand on Emily's shoulder. "Young lady, you have a gift, and I want to make sure the world sees it. Starting today, Tesla will sponsor your education. Whatever you dream of becoming, an engineer, a scientist, or even CEO one day, will help you get there. Emily's eyes widened. Really? She whispered. Really? He said with a smile. This company owes you more than you know. The engineers, humbled and ashamed, stepped forward. One of them spoke softly. We underestimated you. I'm sorry. Emily, with a maturity far beyond her years, simply smiled and nodded. It's okay. Now you know. That night the story spread like wildfire across the internet. Headlines exploded. Little girl fixes Tesla prototype. Child genius stuns engineers. CEO rewards janitor's daughter after unbelievable moment. Millions watched the video of Emily whispering, "I can fix that," before bringing the car back to life. She became a symbol of hope and inspiration. Proof that brilliance doesn't care about age, status, or background. In the days that followed, Tesla's stocks soared. Investors praised the company not just for its technology, but for the humility to recognize genius in unexpected places. More importantly, Emily's life changed forever. Her father, once overlooked as just a janitor, was celebrated for raising such a remarkable child. Doors that once seemed closed began to open wide. But through it all, Emily remained the same little girl, curious, humble, and always listening. Whenever someone asked her how she did it, she would smile and say, "Machines talk. You just have to listen." And so, what began as a whisper in a crowded workshop became a story the world would never forget. A reminder that sometimes the smallest voice carries the biggest truth.